cluster managers and the other attendees to this meeting. I am Umberto Sozza. I'm president of the European Lighting Cluster Alliance, ELCA. What's the goal for today? So we are at the 8th Be Brilliant Academy. And today we are going to speak about new internalization services for SMEs and clusters, know-how building webinars. So this is one part of our brilliant project, and is very important and very helpful to increase our capabilities about these important themes and the great impact that new digital market, B2B and B2C, and new market opportunities that we can bring to cluster members through new digital partners. So I really thanks Italia Online and Alibaba to be today with us, and I think this is very important to know something new about how the market is going to be, not in the future but now, and members to increase their market share. So I really thank Antonella Fanuzzi and Luca Curtarelli to be with us today, the speakers for the following part of the meetings. This minute for me is okay, and let the floor up to Antonella and Luca for the presentation.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'll let Luca introduce himself, and then I'll start with a brief introduction of the market. So Luca.
Thanks Antonella, and thanks Alberto and the whole ELCA team for organizing this nice moment together. I'm Luca. I'm the head of business development for Italy and some other European markets like Spain, UK, and for Alibaba.com.
Thank you, Luca. We'll come back to you because Luca will give us a very interesting overview of what the platform Alibaba.com can do for companies, especially for SMBs within every country where they operate, so pretty much every country in the world. I have the pleasure to give you a bit of introduction of the market. So in terms of opportunities of e-commerce and export for all companies, generally speaking, and especially, of course, we'll speak about lighting and furniture industries that you guys represent. So before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Antonella Fanuzzi. I'm the Chief Web and Business Solutions Officer at Italia Online. And as we mentioned before, Italia Online is really happy to be here in terms of the cooperation we have with Alibaba.com on one side and with ELCA on the other side, because really what we want to be, our mission is to be the digital partner for Italian companies. We are the largest internet company in Italy, so Italian internet company, and we've started our journey with digital actually very, very early. Earlier also than compared to big players like Google or even Facebook, of course, later on, because we started in 1994. So it's more than 25 years that we have been working with Italian companies and Italians, actually, also consumers, to bring them and help them in their online and digital journey. So Italia Online has a lot of different areas that we work on. On the one side, we have a privileged perspective on consumers, on Italian people and internet users, because we do have a number of very well-known brands, so like publishing brands like Libero, Virgilio, Delay, Siviage, a number of verticals that we provide and we serve with a lot of content, which is used and visited by a largest portion of the Italian population. And this gives us a very good perspective of how the market is evolving from a user perspective, a consumer perspective. On the other side, we have a very important part of our activities, which is the one that I work on directly with my team, which is the Italian Online that works with customers in terms of businesses, companies, especially, of course, we do also work with large customers. As you see here, it's more than 600 large customers and large companies that we work on within Italy. But our biggest volume is on SMBs. This is our sweet spot. This is our core in terms of a company perspective. We work with more than 200,000 customers throughout Italy across all industries industries, segments, geographies, of course, and this gives us a very good perspective again of how the market is evolving, especially in terms of how companies and businesses are navigating on market trends, and this especially in this current moment and market situation is a very privileged look that we have also through our sales representatives and employees across all Italy. What do we do specifically in terms of solutions, digital solutions that we offer to customers? We really focus on solutions that help customers in terms of businesses and companies increase their business. So our idea is not only to provide one single solution or one only element. The idea is really to provide a suite of digital solutions that help customers in terms of companies increase their business, increase their number of clients that they serve, increase the number of employees that they can help, really leveraging the power of digital solutions. And this goes from helping companies enabling their digital presence across a number of platforms, including our own and proprietary ones, but also like others like Google My Business or Facebook page or vertical portals and so on and so forth. We build up websites and e-commerce websites for companies, or also more integrated e-commerce solutions. We'll speak about that a little bit later on, integrated with marketplaces and comparison websites. We do have a very important part of our business dedicated to advertising, because we know, and we'll also speak about that with Alibaba.com later on, you might have the best website or e-commerce site or a site within a marketplace, but if you don't push it, if you don't bring people and traffic to that content, it's like a fantastic car with no fuel. So advertising is really the fuel of our assets, of our site and e-commerce assets, and we work a lot on that. And we do also do a lot of work around more integrated agency services and communication services around topics like social media management, content marketing, influencer marketing, and so on and so forth. This gives us a really good perspective and really good knowledge to really help customers and companies across Italy, but today also across the whole world, to understand how really you can leverage the power of digital solutions in order to increase your business. And why we are here today is also because we do want to bring a little bit of this expertise. Of course, it's a very short time from today, but we'll try to summarize everything, but also because we really strongly believe in projects like the one that we're doing with ELCA, remember, and especially with Luce in Veneto, together with Alibaba.com, because this is a project that it's not yet online, but it's coming soon. So stay tuned for that. So what we are doing together with Luce in Veneto and with Alibaba.com and Italia Online team is really building up this presence within Alibaba.com platform and really making sure that Luce in Veneto and all the companies that work with Luce in Veneto and within Luce in Veneto can really benefit from the potential of Alibaba.com and the support, the specialized support from Italia Online. So as we said, we're really happy to be here, and thanks again for the invitation. So just a very general and quick, as we said, overview, a bit of how we look at the market. I'll bring you some data of the Italian market, also some international ones, and also Luca later on will speak also about other countries from the privileged global Alibaba.com perspective. So of course, we are here in the middle of 2021, and if we look back at 2020, obviously it's been a tremendous year, a tremendous transformation year. I've brought you here some real titles that we saw in newspapers about how digital has been key for SMBs within the COVID situation, pandemic situation, to really push in terms of digital export and digitization and e-commerce solutions as really a salvation, as we'll see in a second, for SMBs. So it's really how the global pandemic has forced companies to change the paradigm, and especially for Italian companies, the made in Italy and the digital applied to made in Italy, as we'll see also later with Alibaba.com, are really essential levers for the success of an export strategy. It might also impact, and we'll come back to that in a second, how we are doing these activities in terms of export. We'll speak in a second about how fairs have been transformed in 2020 and still today becoming more and more digital, but in order not to stop the promotion activities of companies, both B2C, but also really B2B, bringing them on the web and giving them the opportunity to really cut the geographic constraints and the travel constraints that we have seen. And the last one I'll bring you here is really a very strong title, but very to the point in my view. So for half of SMBs, actually probably even more, the salvation is really online in terms of transforming their business and making their business stay alive. So to summarize, the way we conduct business has dramatically changed in 2020. However, what I want to stress is a very important word, and I think also Luca will mention that later on speaking about Alibaba.com. Of course, the transformation. But a key element, and we are seeing that from every data that we look into the markets, is that it's not a one-shot thing. It's not something that happened because of COVID-19 and because of the pandemic. And when the pandemic will finish, hopefully, as soon as possible for all of us, this will come back to the previous situation. This acceleration is there to stay. So for companies, it's essential to understand that if you have not done yet all those activities to be present online and to really exploit the digital tools, do it now, because it will be a key element to be successful, not in the future, but already right now. So time is really key. And this happens, and we are observing that, as I mentioned before, our customer base spans across all industries. So we do really see if there are differences across industries. Some are there, some differences are there, but this acceleration in terms of digital transformation is across really all industries, including the ones we focus on today, which is lighting and furniture industry. So obviously, what we have seen, especially for these industries, is difficult year, as for many industries in 2020. However, with good signs of recovery. If you look at, for instance, lighting industry in Italy in 2020, most of the players declared a decrease in turnover and losses between -10% and -30% within 2020. However, if we look at the last portion of the year, at Q4, the industry overall has seen a turnover growth, which is a sign, a positive sign, and we'll come back to that as well, of recovery within the market. If we look at home decor and furnishing industry in Italy in 2020, we do see a similar pattern with overall a decrease in the annual turnover within the country. However, in the second portion of the year, in the second portion of 2020, a good bump back in terms of recovery. Same thing in terms of the turnover abroad, which is one of the key focuses of today's discussion. A decrease overall, but a good sign or a positive sign of recovery to build up upon, especially in terms of digital. Within this context, e-commerce is obviously a key growth driver. As we might see from the data, and this again is not something that happened only in 2020. For instance, in lighting industry in Europe, we have seen a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR of online sales from 2016 to 2020, above double-digit growth, above 10%. So it's still something that was there before COVID accelerated. However, still a long way to go. Still a long way to go because the penetration of e-commerce on these industries is still limited. So which means that there is huge potential, and there is huge potential for those players that will be able to adopt e-commerce solutions to leverage on export potential, especially also on platforms like Alibaba.com, in a relevant way and in a fast way. Again, time is key. Time, as many people say, time is money, but in this situation, time can also be salvation in many situations. Same thing with home decor and furnishing industry. Again, there has been a significant growth, but there's still a long way to go. How do we see this impacting also in terms of the change in consumer behavior and user behavior? Obviously, as we as individual users have also experienced in our daily life, our routines have dramatically changed in 2020. People spend many hours, working hours, of course, as well as personal hours, at home online. And this might have an important impact also in terms of how we see the situation for industries like the ones that we have represented here, so lighting and furnishing industries, because of course you might address, and you are addressing, people that spend a lot more time at home, a lot more time navigating online, doing e-commerce transaction, using credit cards, really finding things at home, doing a lot of smart working at home. And so also building up within the private houses more workspaces that might also need, of course, products like the ones that you represent. Fairs. So we've been discussing, and we will be still discussing with Alibaba.com, which is a fantastic digital fair, the biggest digital fair in the world, how fairs have been transformed in 2020. Of course, fairs have been, and actually we do hope that will come back to be a major opportunity to meet up people. Of course, the hope for everybody is that physical fairs will come back to be possible and present within the old world. However, the transformation that we have seen in 2020 with more and more fairs taking place online, because in 2020 and still partially today, business travels were massively restricted, again, is something that happened as something that accelerated because of 2020 situation, but is not happening only because of that, and again, is there to stay. Most of the players, there's an important survey which is done in Italy on Italian lighting players, stated that the lack of participation to physical fairs has not really negatively affected their turnover, exactly because it transformed their activity, making it more digital through video calls with clients, virtual events, virtual fairs, participation to marketplaces, webinars, e-commerce, and so on and so forth. And the fact that hopefully business travels will start to reopen, again, does not have to be seen as, okay, so then digital fairs will stop. No, they're there to stay, and Luca will also discuss about that as well. All of these changes are in an important way massively affecting the decisions of companies, investment decisions on companies, and medium-term business impacts. So Italian lighting companies, for instance, stated that most of them will implement an online transformation also to overcome the COVID-19 emergency. So of course, the core of a lighting companies in terms of developing products, revamping their offering, obviously still a core activity that all companies, all of you guys, still have obviously to do in your everyday life. However, the implementation of online transformation, the exploiting and exploring of alternative sales channels, especially on the digital space, and the open up to new target markets, especially in looking at export and new target markets that digital make available to all of you, is obviously, as you can see, is stated as being the key element in terms of transformation of the business today, not tomorrow, as of today, as we said before. In this context, as we mentioned before, the early signs of recovery already from late 2020 significantly generated a positive sentiment, both among lighting and furniture companies, in terms of companies that expect to return to their normal business level or to their growth patterns prior to the pandemic in 1 year or possibly also less. And same thing also in terms of home decor and furnishing industries, where companies do see a positive pattern, do see a positive trend in terms of coming back or potentially also overcoming the levels that the companies had before the pandemic situation, especially leveraging digitalization, innovation, automation, and also the support from certain very relevant EU funds that you might get in that sense. Especially when we look at B2B companies. We'll discuss later on with Luca and Alibaba.com. There is also a B2C element, but the main Alibaba.com is mainly a B2B, of course, platform. And B2B companies are have a tremendous opportunity in this sense, because they do have the possibility to bring their products everywhere in the world, especially thanks to digital. And B2B companies seem to understand that they have to rethink their whole business model and sales model around digital. So in this sense, the sentiment, at least what we observe in Italy, but Luca will mention also other countries later on, is really growing, and this is very positive. Companies understand that they need not only to maintain their marketing investment, so you have to avoid the trap of reducing marketing investment when things don't go well, because otherwise you will not be equipped when things will start going better. So companies seem to be understanding that they need to continue investing on marketing, on digital, and improve and increase the activity around remote selling and digital activities in order to remain in the market and competitor. As we're understanding, the adoption of digital solution has been really essential to unlock the great value of export, and has become completely essential. So if you don't do it, you might risk significant number of different ways. Of course, this is a research that looks at Italian companies that sell abroad through a snapshot, and the key very intelligence. Many companies do it through their own website, or also website plus marketplaces. A reduced number of companies only do marketplaces, but the key element we also want, and also with Alibaba.com, is your e-commerce website and marketplaces are both key tools to grow your business in your domestic market and abroad. And they do not have to be seen. Sometimes we do hear this in the markets, like companies saying, should I do my e-commerce website? Should I do marketplace? Do actually both, because they are complementary channels and they're not substitutes. And this is a key point, and I'll finish here, then passing the word to Luca, that I really want to stress, because in our experience with, as I said, more than 200,000 customers and companies from all sizes, industries, geographies, and so on and so forth, this is a big trap where we see a lot of companies falling into. The e-commerce website and marketplaces are not substitutes, they're not mutually exclusive, but they should be part of an integrated multi-channel digital strategy where you leverage the best of both to optimize their potential and your potential as a company to grow. They do have pros and cons, or things that you can leverage and strengthen on both sides. On the e-commerce website, you have the possibility to have a much stronger and deeper interaction between brand and customers, because your website is your space, is your area where you can have your direct interaction with your customers. And this helps you, or allows you as a company, to do a lot of things. So to do more profile segmentation of your customers, you can bring more dedicated promotions, you can activate added services based on your product characteristic, personalization, loyalty programs, and so on and so forth. So the e-commerce website is your space. So this is their main benefit. Marketplaces, on the other side, bring you, and Luca will speak about that on Alibaba.com in a second, will bring you immediate visibility, immediate traffic and audience, maybe a bit less possibility to build up your own direct relationship, but you can still do it. But you can activate a lot of value-added services provided by the platform. But the main advantage of the marketplace is that time zero, moment zero, they bring you visibility, traffic, and audience, which is already on the platform. But really complementary elements, and really elements that can help companies like the ones we have represented here on lighting and furniture industries to be ready and prepared to profit from all the opportunities coming from new markets, new business model, new partners, also the possibility to do cost savings through digital, which is obviously an important element of your P&L as a company. And all of this can be enabled by digital solutions that are really the key success factor for your businesses. And if well used, and that's why we do work, and we do have such a strong partnership, for instance, with Alibaba.com as Italia Online, because we put the competencies of both to support companies in order to help them achieve really the best of all these digital solutions. I know I've given a lot of information in a short time frame. The idea was to just give you an overall view of all the opportunities we do have in the market. Also, some challenges we do have right now in the markets, but where the digital transformation can help overcome and get the best out of the current situation. Alibaba.com is a fantastic element, or a fantastic example of how you can do it. As we said, we do work on an everyday basis with Luca and all of this team in order to bring these solutions to as many customers and companies as we can. And that's where I bring, the stage to Alibaba and to Luca Quartarelli, Head of Business Development at Alibaba.com in Italy, in order to explain you a bit more of how the platform works and what is the potential of it. Thank you very much, and I'll stay here for the questions at the end. Thanks again, ELCA, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Antonella, and once again, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the overview as well. It was plenty of interesting insights on the, let's call it the new era. And also it's interesting how you depicted the digital as a new normal. That looks like a cliche, but is always more and more true. And especially in the B2B industry, where the digital always came with a little bit more, let's say, it was a little bit more shy than the B2C industry, but we are seeing the strongest improvement and the highest acceleration, I would say. In this section, I prepared some slides, but I just want to give you, let's say, an overview on an introduction of Alibaba.com, especially considering this as for you as a partner for your, on one side on digitalization and on the other side also to improve your export. So let's share my screen, starting from a very interesting question, that is, what is Alibaba.com? Because we hear a lot about Alibaba under very different circumstances and very different angles, sometimes also some gossip side, but in reality, what is Alibaba.com? We can translate this in a single sentence, that is, Alibaba.com is the largest B2B platform, the largest B2B marketplace in the world. And why is this important? Many times we see and we try to understand what is the potential of an industry by understanding, for example, what is the size of the business. And just to give you an idea, the B2B industry online is more or less 5 times bigger than the B2C e-commerce globally, from a global perspective. If we go back closer to my geography, I called from Milan. So looking back to the Italian situation specifically, we can see, for example, how the B2B export online is worth 11 times the B2C version of the export, and is worth, for example, almost 28% of the overall export of Made in Italy. So this is already a vast portion, a vast perimeter where Alibaba.com is working, and we are contributing with our numbers. We have been, let's say, from an anecdotal perspective, from a corporate story, let's say, we have been the first startup that was founded by our founder, Jack Ma, and we have 22 years history. So it looks, we look very young, but from a digital perspective, it's like a full era. And over these 22 years, we gained some numbers. We built our user base. So at the moment, we have more than 26 million active buyers. So Antonella had a very interesting example and comparison with the fairs, with the trade show. So you can imagine Alibaba.com as a global trade show, online, open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, with a lot of visitors. And these a lot of visitors are, for example, these 26 million active buyers that over one day time, they produce more than 340,000 requests for quotation. So 330,000 times ways in which the buyers ask for a quotation, ask for more information about products of our exhibitors, and they activate business negotiation in this way. So we were born, as I said, 22 years ago in China, but at the moment we are a truly global company and a truly global platform. We are present in more than 190 countries. So this is actually an opportunity for companies to access a truly global market and not just a gateway to China as it was intended in the past. And then we are going to see also later which are the most interesting and the markets where we have the highest density of buyers. And then the last point the last number that I wanted to mention is that in line with our original mission that was to make it easy for every business, especially the small and medium businesses, to run business everywhere in the world, we have this platform. Alibaba.com is actually accessible in 19 languages. And these 19 languages helps both in the creation of a presence, an online presence that is automatically translated into different languages, and also in the negotiation, because in the messaging system that you can use, that it will help to make business and to activate the negotiation with foreign buyers. So buyers is the key. the main values that we can provide with Alibaba.com is access to 26 millions of buyers. But the interesting part is, who are these buyers and what are they looking for? So here I wanted to mention the industry where we see highest demand in Europe. Of course, Alibaba.com is a generalist platform, so we have more than around 6,000 categories represented. But for example, furniture is one of the key industry in terms of potential. And when in the idea of potential, I mean the amount of activities that these buyers replicate into the platform in order to understand more about the products or purchase more and more from our supply that we have on Alibaba.com. So, for example, on the furniture industry is, just to give you also a more practical representation of the potential, is among the top 6 industries for potential in our platform when buyers look for products from European supply. And also, as I was saying, Alibaba.com is a gateway to a global marketplace and to a global community of buyers around the world. 60% of the overall buyer population comes from North America and Europe. Here you can see, for example, the top 20 markets where we exclude China, for example, and you see how many of these markets are already sometimes target markets for your companies. So we have some of the top purchaser of made in Italy products, of made in Europe products like US, for example, or UK. But we also have some markets where we see from an absolute value a kind of smaller potential, but there is an high rate of growth and an higher the development of these markets, like for example Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, or also Saudi Arabia, where for absolute value, as I said, maybe they didn't justify your physical presence in a trade show or the activation of a distributor there, but with Alibaba.com you can still reach those high growing markets. So it's a two-phase, the opportunities, both for top markets and for high growing markets as well. So how does it work? It's relatively simple. Many times we do this parallelism with trade show as we did before, and we can do it also when we explain how Alibaba.com works. So, for example, the first step it would be to create your online B2B store, and in this case, partners like Italia Online, that they are hyper qualified to help in the preparation of these contents. It will be the key factor between being on Alibaba.com and being successful on Alibaba.com. So Italia Online will help in generate content and in designing also your presence on Alibaba.com in the best possible way. Like exactly when you go on a physical trade show and you have your stand with all the perfect decoration and your material, your catalog and everything in order to present yourself in the best way for in front of the community of buyers. So first of all, creation of an online B2B store. Secondly, uploading your products. So basically digitalizing your catalog in a B2B ways. And finally, connecting with potential buyers in two different ways. One, reactively, so buyers will look for lightning products, for example, and they will be able to find you and ask you for more information, and that's what we call inquiry. So you will be it will be possible for you to get back answer to these buyers and start a negotiation that then can go also offline. So you don't need to stay within the environment of Alibaba.com. You can also move the negotiation on the phone, or ideally in the future also on a face-to-face scenario. And then there is also a proactive approach that we suggest and we recommend, that is within a section that is called RFQ markets, that I'm going to present in more details later. The principle here is that what we ask a buyer to do, so our preferred action, what we can call from a digital perspective a conversion, will not be like in a normal e-commerce situation, the click on purchase now. But the button that we incentivize to click from a buyer is ask for more information. So what you will receive, it will be a request for information, as I said. So in this case, we will not push the seller to sell at any cost. Actually, we will not even apply a commission. So everything that you will realize thanks to Alibaba.com, it will be not charged of any additional fee. And you will always have the full freedom to understand if the buyer is your target buyer, if the condition and the terms of the agreement will be interesting for you, and you will be able to negotiate every single aspect of the agreement with the buyer. Even also, for example, the possibility to customize a product according to a specific request from a buyer on the other side of the world. So more into details. The first part, B2B store, this is, let's say, is a peculiarity of Alibaba.com, and is a peculiarity of the B2B e-commerce, because in this case, one of the most important part will be to introduce yourself, not just in terms of how cool your product is, but also how cool you are as a company. So you will be able to tell your story, your heritage, your made in Italy, made in France, made in Spain, made in Europe products, that everything that will be able to differentiate yourself from the competition. You will be also able to explain and to give more details on where you are able to export. So which are the markets and the geographies that you can address, and where you have already an ability and experience to ship your products. Or, for example, if you have any patents or any certificates that can give you credibility. So basically, we don't want to, and we don't expect to move away completely from a physical scenario into a full digital world. But with our tool, we want to replicate as much as possible a concept of trust that you were used to have in a physical trade show, for example. So all these elements, all this information are useful for you to be able to attract a buyer and to secure that you are a trustworthy partner and a reliable partner. So after that, what we suggest is to replicate all the catalog online. And again, here you can see the difference between, for example, what you can be used under a B2C e-commerce scenario. So this is a product page where you can see, for example, how you can indicate the minimum order under which you don't serve a specific request, or you can show the price range under a range and not a price point as you are used for a B2C situation. Or you can describe the lead time, because maybe you don't have products in stock and you can produce ad hoc for a specific situation and a specific request. And you can also customize the products based on a minimum level of order. You can also indicate, and you can also state which are your preferred logistic terms and your preferred payment terms. And for example, these terms can change situation by situation according to the nature of the buyer and according to the request that the buyer asks you. So this is to say that exactly like in a trade show, when a buyer comes to your desk, you are, let's say, you have the possibility to start the negotiation and finalize the agreement case by case in different situations, with different terms. As I was saying, we have 19 languages that are supported, and you can easily replicate your presence under 19 different languages, and attracting so buyers also from markets where even the alphabet is very different. So here I just make an example of some of the products that were automatically translated into Japanese, Russian, or Arabic. And finally, the connection with buyers. Here, I wanted to have a little deep dive on the RFQ market, because it's something that is I think it's very cool from my personal perspective, but it's also very useful for companies that live on Alibaba.com and increase their business on our platform. Because you can imagine this section as, let's call it in Italian, a bacheca, or let's say a board where buyers can add a little post-it, or they can activate a tender where they express their intention of purchasing specific products. Like, for example, I want to buy 200 lamps or 200 lights from a European supply. What is the price that you can provide to me? I am from Russia. So in this case, you have two different opportunities that you can get from this situation. The first one, of course, you can get in touch and offer your services to a highly qualified buyers in a moment where he expressed his own willingness to purchase. So this is a way to attract business, first of all, in a proactive way. On a second level, this is also a way to understand which are the trends from a global level, which are the products that are more required in a specific season, for example. So you can use this section also to monitor what are the development of a specific industry. Just to give you an idea, because in the digital we always show big numbers, so also this kind of dynamics is well fueled, as Antonella was saying before, talking about advertising, is well fueled by numbers. So 20,000 daily RFQ are posted in this section. So a lot of business opportunities. So let's deep dive a little bit on the furniture on Alibaba.com. So I wanted to give you an idea on how this industry is moving on our platform with the perspective and, let's say, the observation, a privileged observation from that we have on a global perspective, on a global trends, being the leading B2B platform. So sometimes we are also used to monitor what is the development of the B2B industry in specific industries. So here we can see, for example, how over the last year, there was a very specific year and very particular one, as Antonella was saying, many of the dynamics moved from offline to online, and also in the furniture industry. So 57% of buyers increase. So the number of users, of active users that enter Alibaba.com looking for furniture products. On the other side, the sellers, so the offer side, grew, but not as much, generating some strongest opportunities in this industry, because the number of sellers increased only by 2%. But also, the activities of buyers increased a lot, because we have a 45% increase in inquiries and requests for quotation that are the main proxy to understand what is the potential of the platform for a specific industry. And here, also on a visual side, the same message, but they just give you an idea of growth. So we see, for example, how in the last 4 months of this year of 2021, we saw a very deep increase in number of visitors and in numbers of what we call opportunity index. That is a mix between inquiries and RFQs and number of buyers. That is the pink line, reaching some peaks during the beginning of springs of 2021. So we're really living a golden age on Alibaba.com on the furniture industry at the moment. And here, just to give you an idea of where the buyers come from and which are the markets with the highest potential. Again, there is a good, a very strong parallelism with our global trend and global presence of buyers. So we see US as a main buyer or as a main market for origin of our buyers, India, followed by India, and also UK. And then if we deep dive a little bit more on the lighting industry and the lighting subcategory, we can see how actually the buyer side grew also on this industry by 11% year over year, with the growth of the seller side that, again, in a similar way, was interesting but less important compared to the demand side. So 4% grew growth from number of sellers. And also in terms of inquiries and requests for quotation, we saw an increase of 13%. So also in this specific category, we are seeing a significant growth. Again, the golden era is still on this spring, apparently. So lots of buyers also interested in the lighting sector are coming on Alibaba.com and are active on Alibaba.com. It's not just a visit, that is the blue line, but in this case, the number of opportunities are even higher compared of the number of buyers. So it means that from a business perspective, this is something that is growing in a very significant way. Buyers distribution, similarly, US, India, in this case, Canada is slightly higher than UK, but UK is still on the first, it's just one step before the podium, but it's still within the top 4 markets. But as you can see here, as I was mentioning at the beginning, we also have markets that maybe you have never considered before, or maybe they can become your top markets for the future. I imagine Philippines, Australia, Russia, Peru, Saudi Arabia, or Mexico, that are still in the top 10. But again, I'm not sure if some of these were already in your radar, or they can become part of your target markets in the future. And here, in terms of subcategory, we have a pretty complete representation of what we can have into this lighting industry. But just to give you an idea, indoor lighting were the #1 subcategory, followed by professional lighting, outdoor bulbs and tubes, so also some tools and some parts of the end products, landscape lighting. So anyway, this is something that we can leave later on for your extra thinking after the events, but this is just to give you an idea of how many also subcategories are represented into our platform. So how do we support European SME? We do a series of activities, including also working with our partner and with Italia Online in order to educate the market on the digital opportunities, and also to make sure that when a customer becomes a new customer on Alibaba.com, a new exhibitors on Alibaba.com, they have everything that they need to know how the platform works and also to be successful on the platform in the long term. So the first things, Antonella mentioned the fairs, the trade show I renamed here in this slide. So it's a very dynamic industry. In the last few months, they saw our friends in the trade show. They had of course, some issue that they have to face during the lockdown period. What we try to do is to give, on one side, an alternative to companies to keep working on a trade show scenario, but online. So what we did starting from the 11th of May 2020, we started actually from the furniture industry, home and health. We had a combination of two different sectors in the platform. And we had our first ever online trade show open globally for a couple of weeks. And the experience was a true success, because we had more than 1,000 exhibitors with more than 150,000 visitors every day present in this digital trade show from all over the world, with around 500,000 products showcased. But on top of that, we added some technological feature to make this experience being as close as possible to the physical trade show experience. So we had the live stream with the entrepreneur showcasing the new products, or showcasing, as you can see here, their factory. Or we had some matchmaking system where we could perfectly match the perfect buyer for the perfect seller. Or we had some virtual room. We had opinion leader showcasing the latest trends. So it was really, let's say, a sort of phygital, let's call it in this way, between the digital and the physical scenario, where these phygital events. As I said, this was a true success. And after that, we had, with a frequency of 2 or 3 weeks, so every 2 or 3 weeks, we had a different trade show on our platform. And we even had trade show that were combined with digital players. For example, with Cosmoprof, that comes from a totally different industry. But just to give you an idea on how far we are going together with the trade show to create opportunities thanks to digital to all the B2B players. Then, of course, we have a very highly populated trade show. So there is a lot of competition, I have to say. We had almost 200,000 companies that exhibit in our digital space. So what we suggest is to, as Antonella said, to fuel your visibility and to fuel your machine, your engine in our platform with some advertising solution. Actually, in Alibaba.com, the advertising solution is very practical. It's only one. It's based on the search engine. You can purchase a few keywords that represents your products or your company, and you will be positioned in the ranking of the search results in the first places. So you will be visible to highly targeted buyers, and you will pay in a pay-per-click dynamic. So it's very classical of the digital advertising campaign. Only if the buyer looking at you understand that you are what he's looking for or she's looking for, and she or he will click on your product. So only if people comes in front of your stand. And what we offer is also a smart advertising tool powered by artificial intelligence that basically will optimize automatically your budget, changing. I don't want to be too technical, but basically we will change the setting of your campaign based on the nature of the buyer that you have on the other side. So if this is a target buyer with highest potential for you, you will be more aggressive in trying to bring that person in front of your stand instead of some other player that is not as interesting as this one. And finally, our ambition is not just to be and to play the part of a marketplace, so not just an extra channel for sales, but we really want to be a 360-degree strategic partner for SMEs when they go when they want to do export. And in this perspective, we offer with our analytics tools a large set of real-time reports within our platform that can help companies also to understand, for example, what is the best possible new markets to target when they go export. So also to craft or recraft the export strategies also offline, so not only online. Understanding which are the products that have more appeal on specific markets, or monitoring what are the performance of the advertising campaign. So a full set of insights that comes, let's say, for free just by being present into Alibaba.com. So here I just want to give you as a last example one little case study that is kind of, I want to stay a little bit generic, but just to make you understand which are the dynamics of the platform and which are the things that the platform itself appreciate from a seller and reward with extra visibility in an organic way, so without purchasing extra feature. So this is Mille Lucciole, that is a lighting company from Italy. It's been active for around 1 year now, and here we can start seeing a strange wording like star ratings. That is a way for us to let's say understand how a seller complies with the requirements of the platform and how virtuous is in its presence in Alibaba.com. So in this case, this Mille Lucciole, they have 3 stars. That is a very solid rating, and this means that, for example, you will receive a good amount of extra traffic. So he will receive a lot of visibility, and he will have access. He can apply, for example, also to all the trade shows that we have online, and is one of the preferred ones that our buyers can find in our platform. How is it possible for this company to be a 3 stars rating seller? So first of all, the amount of products is kind of relevant. So to be successful on Alibaba.com, we suggest to upload as many products as possible. So let's not just be very focused on the key products that you have in your catalog. As much as you do in your trade show, just replicate the whole catalog in your spaces within your mini site. It will help you to convey traffics and to bring more buyers into your space. Then another aspect, so first of all, number of products, it means investing in your setup. When you set up your presence in Alibaba.com, invest time to produce contents, as much as you invest time in decorating your presence in the trade show. Secondly, reply rate. So here you can see how 97% of the inquiry are answered within 7 hours. So this company is very quick in giving information to buyers. Exactly, again, sorry to be repetitive, but exactly like in a trade show. When a buyer comes in front of your stand, they ask for information, you will be incentivizing giving as many information as possible in a quickest amount of time. So this is something that the algorithm will take into consideration and will reward. So be present on Alibaba.com. In a similar way, also the number of login. So our platform rewards the players that are active and are present within this trade show. So this company, for example, log in 22 days every month. So basically every day. When they enter in the office, they check the email and they also check if they receive some email into Alibaba.com. And the reward comes as a last matrix here in terms of numbers of buyers that every month goes into these mini sites and check and get to know better this company. So again, if you follow these few requirements, that also Italia Online will help you to understand better, and they will also help you in producing this kind of contents, actually without expending 100,000 euros of budget, of advertising budget, you will be automatically rewarded by the platform in an organic way. So here you have more than around 2 buyers every day visiting this virtual stand. And finally, 3 tips to be successful. I will just want to summarize it, but actually I've already spoiled them. So the first one is invest in creating contents in the very first moment of your presence on Alibaba.com. You can be a very famous and very popular companies around the world, but consider that you are getting into a new scenario with new players, and maybe you are not so famous in that situation. So use your superpowers, use your history to be known and to be perceived as a trustworthy partner. To do this, just spend some time in the beginning to create content, to create your history, and to create your product pages. Secondly, being present during your 12 months or 24 months times, because this trade show lasts for a long time. It's not just a 2 days presence like maybe you are used, or the 1 week of Salone del Mobile in Milan that I hope you will be able to attend very soon. But basically, again, the amount of time that you spend in the platform, the amount of interaction that you can generate in the platform will be the key that will differentiate companies that are present and companies that are successful in Alibaba.com. And finally, is a B2B platform, so the midterm perspective is key. Our intention is not to generate one-shot sale or one-off sales that will finish with just one order, but our intention is to generate long-term relation with potential distributor, with potential retailer of tomorrow. So as you know, as you can experience in your offline situation, for example, also is that B2B sales cycle is much longer than B2C. So you need to have a midterm perspective and to invest time, but then the reward will be much bigger. As I said, in this case, we are speaking about 11 times the amount and the value of the transaction that you can generate in the B2B scenario compared to a classical B2C e-commerce dynamics. And with this, I just finished. So thanks also from my side for having us today. It was really a pleasure. And if you have any question, we are happy to answer. Maybe I was just a little bit long, sorry.
No, absolutely. You were very exhaustive. Thank you very much, Luca. And we have collected a couple of questions that arrived through different channels. So I'm asking our colleague. Yes. Decide you between Antonella and Luca, who would like to take the first?
I think the first one is very much related to how you can target specific countries on the platform, or generally speaking, we can also speak about how to target in general in the digital space on the platform. But maybe I'll start from Luca with how to target within Alibaba.com, which is obviously a key success factor.
Yeah, so first of all, we can have a discrimination of countries and of markets based on the interest of the companies. We can, for example, focus our KWA on specific markets. We can block even the possibility from buyers coming from specific geographies to send inquiries to us. This is possible from a technical perspective. From a business perspective, this is something that we don't recommend anyway. Because it's the platform itself is a global platform that can help in giving you business from everywhere in the world, but also to have insights from everywhere in the world. And we can also see, for example, some specific cases we encountered this in the past, where companies, they don't want to be present in Germany, for example, because they have an exclusive distributor in Germany. So they don't want to put this relation at risk. But in reality, Alibaba.com is not an alternative to an offline distributor, but is actually is an enabler for this distributor to increase also their market size and their overall revenue. Why? Because basically what we can do, it's not that you close an agreement directly through Alibaba.com, but you get in touch with a potential buyer with a specific request that they do. So you can basically transfer this opportunity to your distributor in that specific markets. Even if this distributor has a very deep relation with you, you can even leave access to your Alibaba.com account to one of your distributor, and they can monitor everything, all the opportunity that comes from specific geography. You have up to 5 sub-accounts that you can open, and you can distribute to everyone you want, to your export manager or to area manager, or to, again, the distributor from US, if that's specific high potential market. And they can monitor the RFQ, and they can answer the inquiry when they come from their respective markets.
Thank you very much, Luca. The second one is a bit tricky. Marketplace stimulate illegal copying more than fairs. So how Alibaba is protecting its clients from this?
Fantastic. Usually I tell a story, but Antonella knows this very well. So I don't know if I need to go to these anecdotes of one real case that happened to us. In reality, is Alibaba has a specific task, and there is a specific team that is taking care to this kind of illegal situation and is illegal copy. So everything, there is an IPR team that is monitoring every day, 24 hours a day, any possibility to have frauds on the platform. There is also a dedicated process for companies, even if they are not we call GGS. So even if they are not exhibitors of our platform, to highlight that there was an IPR infringement on our platform. And it takes around 24 hours to take both the products and the companies down if they have committed any wrong behaviors. So much more different compared to a traditional trade show, where that's part of the experience we had with a few companies belonging to a different industry, was machinery industry, where they basically found a Chinese company, we can say it's not that we have a Chinese company that copied exactly the machine, and this machine was designed by the father of the owner 60 years ago. So it was impossible that it was done by someone else, because they even copied the name. So it was really a fun fact, we can call it. It was a machine. It was kind of a big product. The trade show organizer, of course, were informed of this. There was a legal action against this company, but they could not even take the machine out of the pavilion, not speaking about the possibility to close the stand. So they kept doing the trade show in a very simple way, as they plan to do, just putting a tape in front of the name, so just covering the name of the copied machine. So in our case, being digital is much easier and much quicker. It just required to be complete in providing information that there was an infringement. But in that case, we have a dedicated team that takes care of this.
Okay, thank you very much, Luca. We have a specific question regarding your collaboration with the cluster Luce in Veneto. So what kind of services are offered to a cluster, and how these services can be benefited then from their members?
Marta, I can say something about that, because I'm following that with the collaboration.
Yes, please.
Okay, so as in Alibaba, you can apply as a single company, but we have the possibility as a cluster to apply as Luce in Veneto. So we are creating a mini site with products coming from different SMEs. So for us, it's very interesting, because for sure the access to Alibaba is cheaper for company, for sure, and we can propose a wide range of products to the customers, because we can have lighting, indoor lighting, outdoor lighting, ceiling chandeliers, table lamps and so on. So we can we have a lot of advantages to take part as a cluster in Alibaba. So these are from our point of view, and what we could obtain with the collaboration with Italia Online and Alibaba for sure. I don't know.
Yeah, if I can add, maybe just to build up on what Alberto was saying, what we're doing both on Alibaba.com team and Italia Online team is really serving the cluster with support, both during the onboarding phase, like for instance, for documentation, store setup, products, and so on and so forth, and also after the go live in terms of performance monitoring, continuous improvement actions, because as Luca was mentioning before, there is a massive difference that we observe in performance of real companies or associations or clusters being on platforms like Alibaba.com. There is a massive distance between those that are present and those that are present successfully and bringing actual benefit in terms of visibility, market penetration, capability to reach audience, and eventually ending up with orders done through the platform. And we are committing our support both on Italia Online and Alibaba sides in order to make this as effective as possible with the cluster.
Thank you very much, Antonella. Thank you, Alberto. Here, a question regarding the main barriers or difficulties from your experience that are faced by the companies, in particular the small companies that want to start their e-commerce or B2B activity.
I can start with that, and then maybe Luca can build upon that. So this is a very interesting question. Thank you very much to whoever mentioned it. It's a very interesting question because it's a key element that we work on also with partners like Alibaba.com on every single day. What we have seen, especially in the last year, not only in the last year, but especially in the last year, is certainly in a rise in the interest of companies that have understood that working on e-commerce, doing e-commerce is key in today's space. The biggest barrier is still related to, in many cases, not everybody, of course, in many cases, so I don't want to generalize, but understanding that doing an e-commerce activity is not something that you do on top of your work, but is a key element of your core business model, or as to become core business model. It's like opening an e-commerce, it's like opening a physical store. Hence, it requires an in-depth presence, engagement, commitment by the company itself. So of course, companies like Italia Online, companies like Alibaba.com are here to support, but it all starts with a direct, strong engagement by the company that wants to do this journey. Otherwise, the risk of doing activities that then do not transform into actual business model is real. And that's why the combination of, professional support, but with direct engagement is extremely important. This is still, I think, a difficulty for many SMEs, because in some cases, maybe they don't have, the internal resources to do that, or people that they can dedicate to that. And we do, of course, understand that and support wherever we can, but the understanding of allocating, dedicating, and being engaged in launching or developing or fueling an e-commerce activity is key. Otherwise, it will not transform into real business results, I would say. Luca, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I think it was very interesting and very complete. Maybe I will just add one note that being small for Alibaba.com is not a bad thing. Actually, small is what is the motto of our founder. Small is beautiful, small is powerful, and there is a value of being small for Alibaba.com, and our platform targets and is actually thought also and designed for small business. I echo everything that Antonella said. So a support is fundamental. also for understanding how the platform works. What I can see as I said it already, but I think it's very critical, this aspect. The difference between being present and being successful is the amount of time that you dedicate to the platform. So sometimes small companies, they are afraid and they say, I don't have enough resources to do it. I don't have one person that can every morning access this platform. Sometimes is a false objection. Sometimes it's unfortunately a true objection, but being coupled on being accompanied on this experience by a partner can be one of the solutions that you can have.
Yeah, I wanted to add something to that. Also, maybe connecting with the last question, so I can anticipate something, is I think some of these platforms like Alibaba.com in general, digital platforms for e-commerce or marketplaces, are also building up on what Luca was saying of small is beautiful, is also like in the core of our mission, right? To digitize SMBs. And these platforms actually are a way to somehow democratize, I would say, the business, because also connecting to the cost savings, for instance. So before all of these platforms were live, for a small company, for a small business, in order to really do an export activity, you had to build, you know, a store abroad, offices abroad, hiring people abroad, you know, connecting with, I don't know, local partners. So a number of things that not only are actual costs, but also they have a complexity that in many situations for a small or medium company can be complicated to handle. And also to handle from a cost perspective, but also from a process, from an operational perspective. The digital platforms break this kind of barriers. So they help you, they allow you, I don't want to say to do all of these activities at no cost, because also like investing time is a cost in a sense, but compared to the cost of like physically building a store, all of these things that you have to do physically in a different country, especially if it's very far from your home or domestic country, there's no comparison. Also, like if you think about, we spoke before about fairs or trade shows, the cost, and we saw that, and we spoke with a lot of companies, the investment that a lot of these companies were doing in order to be present in one of these trade shows for 2 or 3 days, as Luca was mentioning before, maybe 1 week, was like thousands and thousands, like tens of thousands of euros or dollars just for 1 week. With this amount, you can really, really do a very, very good activity on digital platforms like Alibaba.com. And if you do it well, as Luca said, getting many more benefits. So not only reducing the cost, but hopefully increasing also the return for the same amount of investment.
Thank you very much.
I
Luca,
think this comment, just because this comment will take us to the last question, probably. That is, what are the most significant cost savings? Yeah. Because actually, as Antonella was saying, democratizing the internet, let's call it like this, is part of our mission. And in terms of cost, it depends, of course, case by case. It depends on your needs. We can have different modules and stuff, but it's kind of I don't know how to say in a more diplomatic way, but it's kind of a cheap platform. So we are kind of cheap, but not in the offer that we provide, but in terms of cost that we have, especially in this moment where we just started our presence in Europe, because we activated a local team from Italy just 2 years ago, and we are now opening into new markets like Spain, as I was saying, Spain, UK, France, Germany, Turkey. So we are really in the moment of explaining these opportunities to the European SMEs, and we are keeping also the cost very, very at a very accessible way. Just to give you an idea, sometimes it's much more expensive, and it's a fun fact that we tell, it's much more expensive to purchase a flight to New York and coming back compared to just being present on Alibaba.com for 2 years. So the platform is very accessible. Again, invest more time than money. It requires more time than money sometimes. And this doesn't mean that, oh no, I don't have to do it because I don't have time. But this can be an extra new layer of your business that can really be in the doping of your business. So they will not substitute your presence on the online trade show, but they will reinforce your presence in front of a global community of buyers. And the outcome of this presence can be really key. So what we see in different companies that started the activities on us is that they hired people to take care of this at some point, because the opportunity was so big that justified the employment of new resources. But again, this should not be perceived and should not be seen from the angle of, oh, if I don't have people, I don't have to do it, because for the startup phase, we have partner that helps on this. In the long term, you can expect that the amount of opportunities that can generate the presence on Alibaba.com together with the presence on other digital and offline platforms, it will boost your business at a level that requires new people. So in short, I speak too much, but in short, it's super accessible. And sometimes we don't even speak about ROI because we don't want to have a return of 5,000 euros or 6,000 euros. That is an ROI, a positive ROI already in 1 year. We want to impact the business for much more than that. So again, it's super accessible, and I'm sure that the people from Italia Online and your consultant can give you more details also on the specific packages that we have.
Thank you very much, Luca. Thank you, Antonella. We don't have any other questions right now. I'm just would like to inform our participants that all the persons who attended the webinar will receive the materials from our event today. And I leave the floor to Alberto to close the event. And thank you one more time to everybody.
Thank you, Marta, and for sure, I really thanks Antonella and Luca for very interesting presentation. So we have 20 minutes more than usual, but very useful minutes more to have more information about the platform. As I mentioned, as Lucia and Veneto, we are trying the platform, so we are happy with the collaboration. We are not online for the moment, but we are work very hard with Italia Online and Alibaba to create the platform. And I think all the information we receive today are very useful to understand the potential of this new wave of proposed companies in the market. So thank you very much to everyone and to our cluster manager for our Europe. And we are going to have in a couple of weeks another Be Brilliant Academy. So stay online and stay, follow Marta emails about the new Be Brilliant Academy. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you all. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, everyone.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
See you online.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.